Hey everyone, welcome into today's learning session here, especially focused on creating content at trade shows. For those of you who don't know, my name is Ben Thomas. I am our head of Pro AV and Integrated Technology Partnerships here at MarketScale. Looking forward to chatting a little bit with you today, talking about some of my own personal experiences on some of the ways that I've leveraged not only MarketScale Studio, but just some best practices in general for creating content at trade shows. So, looking forward to diving in with you this afternoon. So, I'll go ahead and kick us off. So, when you think about content at a trade show, right, or you think about just a trade show in general, trade shows historically have been meeting places or gathering places for people to do business, show off new products, showcase what's happening, right? And for a long time, they were considered just only these face-to-face interaction points and networking opportunities. But especially in a post-COVID world, but really before then, we've seen trade shows be leveraged as these places where we can create content, right? Where we can amplify our spend even just beyond a lot of the traditional. Hey, here's my booth. Here's the new products that we're creating. So I'm going to talk about some of the ways to do that today. The first place that I'll kind of break down is some of the different types of content that you could look at and create at a trade show. Then we'll talk about some of the ways to help kind of prepare in advance. And then maybe some creating specifically some company-centric content, creating some thought leadership content. And then I'll just walk through some of my specific experiences here just from a trade show that I attended recently. So we'll go ahead and dig in. And if you have any questions, drop them in the chat. I'll respond back to them. Any pieces of feedback I can help provide, more than happy to. So at a high level, really there are kind of two separate types of content you can create at a trade show, right? So there's the live content, and then there's pre-recorded. But when you think about live, typically folks might think about live roundtables, live video podcasts, interviews, maybe a product announcement, keynote, things like that. But it also goes all the way down to, and a lot of times you'll see folks with their phone just walking around, maybe on Instagram Live or TikTok, on a more open format. So things like AMAs or Ask Me Anythings or just general walk-arounds happening at the show. Then there's also pre-recorded content. So things like booth tours, you might want to do some product profiles or create some company partner sound bites, really quick, digestible pieces of content. And then daily overviews, daily recaps, things like that. Those tend to perform really, really well, especially for folks who might not be at the show. That's not an exhaustive list. Those typically are just some that I like to create while I'm out at a show. And then this is typically where I start, right? It's all about planning and preparing in advance. So yes, you can go to a show and kind of do a lot of ad hoc content creation. I very strongly recommend against that because there's a lot of confusion that ends up happening with role assignments, with things like who's responsible for what, when am I going to get this deliverable back, things like that. So the first place that I start when kind of preparing and planning is to define some of my objectives. Who's my audience? What are the goals that I'm trying to create from this content? Is it thought leadership? Is it industry engagement? Is it product specific training? Kind of identify that really early on. Then the next step would be to assign some of those roles for attendees. So depending on which trade show you might go to, you might have 10 people at one show and you might have one local sales rep at a show. So that's going to depend, or that's going to help dictate some of the ways that you're going to define those roles. So at a larger show, you might have somebody who's a guest wrangler or somebody who's proactively walking to partner booths and saying, hey, can we record some quick content with you? But at a smaller show, you might just have someone walking around with phone, right? Just grabbing content, uploading it, things like that. So be able to identify some of those roles in advance, and then also assign them to help give some clarity to each role. Next thing, pre-schedule recordings when possible. So if you've been to a trade show recently, I mean, this predates recently as well, but folks tend to get busy. Folks tend to get caught up in meetings. Folks also tend to not show up for things. So the more that you could proactively plan and get time on people's calendar, include the marketing contact, include the PR contact in those conversations, that way you have more advocates for you whenever you need to create some of that content. But the more that you can schedule ahead of time will actually give you a lot more flexibility to create some more of that ad hoc content as it pops up. and then know what you want to do with that content, right? Is this something where we're at a show and we want to publish content while we're out there? Is this something that we want to create content that lives on even beyond the show to help expand some of that ROI? Kind of create a publishing calendar, right? Normally, when I'm creating content from a show, I'll have my daily recap videos every single day, and then just kind of some quick social bites that I'll publish out. But whenever I film interviews or whenever I film some thought leadership bites, I'll drip those out typically the next 2 or 3 weeks to help expand some of the life cycle of that show. So know kind of some of the publishing calendar that you want to create ahead of time, and then it'll also give you a good idea of some of the deliverables that you want to create at the show. So you're not kind of creating content willy nilly. And then, like I said, pre-show and post-show planning is critical. So understanding what you want to create, types of content, topics, things like that, and then rolling out that post-show plan. But that also includes things like making sure as you're creating content in a totally decentralized way that folks are uploading their content. It's in one repository, whether that's Studio, whether that's Box, wherever you've got some of those plans in place. And then I'll start a little bit more specifically with company-focused content. So when you think about company-focused content, a lot of times it for lack of a better term, kind of comes off salesy, right? So that's one of the things off the top that we want to avoid, and that's the lens that we'll be looking through for kind of some of this company-focused content. A few pieces of advice that I have for company and product-specific focused content is recognize where your audience is. So if you are at I'm going to just use an example, a trade show like InfoComm that I attend regularly. Most of my audience that consumes that content on a regular basis is actually at the show. So folks that typically will want to watch my content are people that I'm meeting and exchanging with at the show. Knowing that helps me identify that there's an audience externally that might want to be at the show. They might not know what the show is, but they might be tangentially related to the industry. The content that I produce and publish at the show, especially as somebody who, whether that's MarketScale content, whether that's company specific content, whatever, I need to identify that audience who's not at the show probably is somebody who might be a little bit less engaged, somebody who might be a little bit more top of funnel, things like that. So recognize where your audience is, and then find ways to provide unique insight, right? I could pull up a PDF and figure out what the product specs and features are, provide some extra insight, whether it's thought leadership, whether it's training, whether it's education, provide some of that insight as part of your content. And then one of the things that I love to say is show, don't tell. So make sure you're showing the products, right? Again, I could find a PDF that says, here are the specs, here are the best practices for, this specific installation. Show that piece of hardware, show that software, demonstrate some of those capabilities because you've got a captive audience, and that's a good place to do it. Some examples that you might find of company-focused content outside of product-focused stuff is things like booth tours, right? So walking around a show with an iPhone is actually really simple, and it's pretty straightforward, and it gives you an opportunity to say, hey, here's our brand new hardware encoder, and then here's our new display. Gives you a chance to do that. And then also sound bites. So whether you're spotlighting the employees at your company, the developers, the products, some of your channel partners, things like that, it's a good way to leverage company specific focused content out at the show. And then overviews and daily recaps. Like I said, those are some of the best performing content pieces because people get back to their hotel rooms. They want to watch that video, where folks who are not at the show are watching that to kind of catch a glimpse into that world. So if you're at a show, especially one where some of your partners might not be, make sure you're creating that content to give them a bit of a window, especially a window that's given through the lens of your company into the show. And then this is kind of an example of it. So what you'll see here is one of our partners, Panasonic, literally took their iPhone out at a broadcasting show that was in Vegas recently, uploaded it into Studio, and created this video. So you'll see Las Vegas kind of generic B-roll, show B-roll. You'll see in here that they've got quite a bit of booth B-roll. But then Ryan, who you'll see here in just a second, there he goes, pops up, actually is providing a little bit of context into why Panasonic is at the show, right? And what are some of the trends and some of the things that they're looking to solve. So you could see B-roll of products. You could see the cameras, some of the switchers right there, which he's mentioning. But he's talking about why those products exist, right? Things like, remote production is important for broadcast houses. So here's the switcher that's going to help do that, right? And yes, Sarah, I can absolutely share that example over to you after that. But this is one of my favorite pieces of content, and they published it online, did incredible engagement with it. But it took them 10 minutes to film. So they literally took their iPhone out, recorded Ryan for I think 3 or 4 minutes, grabbed some B-roll, uploaded into studio, and it was back in their hand by the end of the day. So this is just an example of kind of company specific and focused content. And then the world that I like to live in a lot of the time is really that thought leadership content. So not something that's always annoyingly hyper branded, but something that's more free flowing, industry thought leading, educational, geared towards so many different places, in different audiences, just to kind of teach folks and show folks the best parts of your industry. And thinking about this as a marketer and thinking about this as somebody who uses studio on a corporate side, this content typically slants more towards the top of the sales funnel, right? Because you're talking about industry trends, kind of general thoughts, having maybe some high level thought leaders on things like that. And that, like I said, will help inform some of the content that you create. This stuff is fantastic for non-attendees. So like I said, folks who are typically pretty engaged with the industry will be at a lot of these shows, and people who maybe are tangentially part of the industry, maybe new to the industry, will eat a lot of this content up, not only at the show, but beyond. So imagine, in the AV world, which is my world, I might teach somebody on best practices for mic etiquette or trends happening in higher education AV, things like that. So think higher level for some of this thought leadership content. And then it's also, like I said, a great tool to gain some of that industry trust. So because it's high level focused content, you're building up your expertise across all of your verticals. So you think examples, industry insights, trends, that might be me walking around the show floor saying, hey, it's been out here. Here are the top 5 things I've seen on the show floor today. I can also grab some sound bites from experts and some of my panelists, things like that. I'll show you an example here in a second where I kind of just took my phone out and created some fun content, but also a great chance for interviews, just roundtable discussions, things like that, because a lot of the folks in the industry, because they're at the trade show, will be there. So there's a lot of folks that can help contribute to that content. So this is a series at one of the shows I was at recently called Benfocom. So the name of the show is Infocom. Had a fun spoof on it. Tried to mix it up, and you kind of see that here. So I'm talking to a hologram version of myself, which was good fun. It required a little bit of pre-planning to actually record that and get that out to the booth, but it was fun. But as we kind of step through the video here, you'll see that I'm at different booths interviewing people, but in the same time, I'm also providing some context, providing a little bit of comedy. And this is still to this day, hilariously enough, one of the most viewed videos that I've ever produced because it's just fun. It's good. It's engaging for the industry. It's entertaining, and it's some high quality content. And then Terry, I saw you had a question. Do I have a specific question that I ask typically that lead to great conversations? In what context? Is that during thought leadership, or is that more towards company focused? I'll let him answer that, and then I'll kind of finish this thought here. But from the thought leadership side, because there's a little bit more flexibility in the conversation, and it's less ultra company polished, you get to have more fun. So I'm cracking jokes here and enjoying it. But so we'll kind of jump through with that in mind. I'll talk specifically about how I use not only studio, but just kind of in general created content out at Infocom, which is one of the biggest shows for our industry. It's actually the biggest one in North America. So we talked about some of that live content right off the top. One of the things that I am fortunate enough to do is every single year, and you can kind of see right here at this picture, but I get the opportunity every single day at Infocom to host 3 live sessions that are streamed to the show LinkedIn page. I stream it on my page, and there's a lot of industry thought leaders that stream it and share it on their page. But it's just a daily news show. We bring on folks, we ask them questions, roundtable format, stuff like that. And then I also had the opportunity to both be on and host some expert roundtables. And we did all of that live because it was kind of exclusive content that we wanted people to consume and watch during the show. But some of the things that we did from a pre-recorded standpoint, and this goes even earlier than the show starting, we recorded some promotional content for the show. So you can see it right here where I had on a first timer to Infocom, and I asked her kind of some of the questions about what she was looking forward to, how she was expecting to, or some of the things she was expecting to see at the show. So created that content to help hype our presence at the show, but also give the show just a little bit of extra boost. And then some of the thought leadership sound bites I think were some of my favorites. So you see right here, I got a chance to chat with Jeff, and I did this for, I think it was 65 different booths out at the show. It was kind of ridiculous over 3 days, but we were able to kind of walk up and ask some of these folks questions about some of the industry trends, some of the products that they had come out with, to actually engage with our audience. And these were 90-second, 2-minute videos that we cut entirely through MarketScale Studio and delivered. And it was really lightweight. Just used my iPhone and like a little clip-on microphone. Super simple. And then I did some floor tours. So right here, you can see I'm actually outside the Sennheiser booth where we were walking around showcasing some of my favorite products that had come out during the show. So whether that was a sound bar like you see behind me, maybe some video wall products, displays, things like that, I was able to kind of create some of that content. And then a great way that I used it as a nurture for some of my prospects and clients was to actually clip that section out and send it back to them and give it back to them. I did the same thing with the sound bites as well, but that way you're creating value not only for yourself in publishing, but you're creating value for your clients and your partners as well. And then daily show recaps. Like I said, that's one of the things that I do pretty regularly. And those are usually very, very simple. Self-shot iPhone. Maybe I'll get somebody to hold the camera for me, but they're very, very lightweight. Uploaded into MarketScale Studio with some of my B-roll, and it's a very quick kind of turnaround process there. So I know we spent probably about 15 minutes there walking through some of the ways and kind of from a high level, some of the ways that folks can use it, some of the ways that I've used Studio specifically at trade shows, but would love to open up for some questions and dig in a little bit deeper with you. Does anybody else have any extra ones? Let me check right here. I don't think we have a Q&A side. So if you do have something, just go ahead and drop it in the chat. I'll go ahead and answer one question that I get pretty regularly too is, how do I repurpose this content? And I kind of hit on it just a second ago, but a lot of folks will want to create content at a trade show and maximize it for as long as they can. I love to repurpose content by whether it's clipping out specific interview bits from roundtables or sharing out relevant trends and topics throughout the year as news breaks. Those are some of my favorite ways to repurpose content throughout the year to help kind of maximize that. And it doesn't look like we have any extra questions coming through at this point. So I appreciate y'all coming in. If you do have any questions kind of at any point in time, feel free to reach out to me you can either email me directly, ben.thomas@marketscale.com, or you can shoot me a text. My direct line is 469-804-9089. I'll say that one more time. I think that's pretty fast, but it was 469-804-9089. Happy to respond to those as they come through. But I appreciate you all jumping on, and we'll see you soon.